What's up, Internet? Good morning. It is a beautiful Friday. Today, we're going to be talking schedules, primetime games, holiday games that we're looking forward to watching. We're going to talk about some rookie minicamp hype that we always love. It's that time of year to watch some slow motion videos of guys throwing to wide open wide receivers and what that means, which is hilarious to me. And then we're going to end the show with four guys that I believe have a real strong Hall of Fame candidacy that are free agents, where we like to see them. And Mike, how you doing? How's the offseason treating you?
It's going well. Just doing the same old, trolling the Raiders fans and, counting up the views from it. Thank you guys, by the way, if there's any Raiders fans tuned into this right now.
They'll get here.
This show just got a lot better, too. Joe's frozen. Perfect.
The Raiders fans always find a way to get here. I don't know what it is.
They'll find a way.
But they'll find a way to get here. I do actually think Joe might be frozen.
Except for the one that we want to talk to.
I know how Joe's doing. If you guys haven't seen it, he had like a mild heart attack when the team drafted the best tight end to come out of college football in like 20 years. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The funny thing is like how mad he was because they drafted a good player. Like, we all remember when he had the meltdown over Alex Leatherwood live, but come on, man. You drafted one of the best players in the draft.
I hope that entire time he was trying to respond and just couldn't. He was just talking to a screen that wasn't responding.
Oh, he's pissed too, because we were all talking before this thing went live and everything was working out good. I will say this, like, one thing that I enjoy living in Los Angeles is when you get cut off on the road and then you look over at them and they look over and they're wearing a Raiders hat and you're like, oh yeah, everything adds up. Like, it all makes sense now. I completely understand why that person was a jerk.
Yes, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm being followed, but I guess that's the nation's power, right? There's just Raiders fans in every fucking parking lot, Raiders fans on every freeway, at every turn. I look, Raiders fan is there. There's sometimes where I'll see like a Raiders logo or a sticker in the window, and then we pull up and it's like just a mom with like her 4 kids. I'm like, what kind of Raiders fan are you? Where did you become a Raiders fan? This is bull.
She's restocking Raider Nation, but I would say that that's a bigger problem, Mike. That is if you're being stalked by it's one thing to be coincidentally, kind of pulled in front of on the road. It's another thing to be being stalked by an entire fan base and threatened. That might actually require some, legality situations. While we wait for Joe here, schedules were released. Let's talk about. Well, do you want to talk about maybe your favorite schedule release video? I heard more complaining about the schedule release than I have in years past. Like, almost like people are kind of getting tired of certain stuff. But what was your favorite video?
I don't know what they're getting tired of, Tony. It's just all fun. All the videos were pretty good. I have to go with the Chargers, obviously, because I'm a Chargers fan, and they just absolutely cook everyone every time they drop these schedule releases. But other than the Chargers, the Rams had a pretty sick one. Did you see the Rams one?
I did not, no.
It was like a GTA style thing. It was like Cooper Kupp and Stafford like driving through all the cities of the teams that they're playing against. It was pretty cool. They had some pretty interesting references on there, like a Back to the Future reference, and they went and time traveled through all the times they beat the Seahawks in recent years. Or they had like a Jurassic Park reference where the eagle was chasing them like in their car, like the T-Rex. But then like Stafford just like puts his arm out and it's like the eagle's tamed. And it flies and just like hangs out on his arm.
He's been learning falconry in the off season. He's just like Caesar in the new the new Planet of the Apes film, which is fantastic, by the way. I thought it was really good. My wife said it was a little boring, but I don't know. I would say that like I really liked the Texans. It's like, or the Titans. If it worked once, like run it back. I thought the callback of they didn't necessarily know the team. It felt a little scripted this time, where they had the callback of like, oh, the team that shouldn't have let go of Kirk Cousins. And it was like the first time it was the Vikings. The second time they did the callback, it was the Washington Commanders. I thought the Buccaneers schedule release was very interesting. It was like artful. It had a very emotional Mike Allstott, who's one of my favorite players of all time. Like, people who don't know me, like, in how I like to watch football, it's like couldn't be more jacked for the Harbaugh era, because that is the type of football that I loved growing up, and we're returning to that hopefully. So I'm very excited about it. And then I want to give one shout out to the Patriots, just because Good Will Hunting is like one of my favorite movies, whether it holds up or you do like it or don't like it. It's just one of those movies I saw at the right time, and I thought it was funny and a lot of heart. And Robin Williams is one of my favorite actors of all time. So those are a couple of the other ones that I took note of that I thought were good.
Jurassic Park and Back to the Future is right about where my movie experience and knowledge ends, Tony. So that's why the Rams one was so good to me, because I was like, oh, I can understand all these references. I'm so confused watching them do Jules hunting, whatever the hell they called it.
Did you watch Parks and Rec, the TV show?
Like an episode, and I was like, this kind of stinks.
Because I thought they did an interesting parody of Andy from Parks and Rec. They took Josh Allen into where the new stadium is being constructed.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah, I kind of understood that. The pit, he went into the pit. Did you see the Dolphins one? The Dolphins one was one of my favorite, just because it was nothing. They just said, we're just going to try and play on this speed thing to get out of doing this homework assignment.
I thought that was actually really genius, because like they took something that a lot of teams, like you think about the Chargers and some of these other teams that did a lot of production value, and they were like, we're going to have a really good joke. And it's not even like, you could say it was lazy, but at the same time, like, it's just clever. It's like, this is what we're known for. And we're going to get more into talking about the speed when we talk about some matchups that I'm excited to see.
Avoided talking about the Raiders' boring snooze fest of a schedule release video, so Joe could fill us in on it. But
yeah, I think I watched it. I didn't write anything down. I don't remember it.
It was just a reminder that the Raiders exist.
It was the autumn wind, the narration, right? Like kind of slow and not really. Yeah.
It was cool that they included some content creators, though. I will shout them out for that. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, they did like weird voiceovers that didn't match up. Joe Morley's back. Joe, did you want to talk about any of the schedule release videos or the Raiders before we move into our first topic?
Yeah, the best schedule release came out from the Raiders. I don't know if you guys saw it, that we put it out. Content creators put it out there. It was way better than the one that the Raiders.
Oh, I saw that one. That one was better. And I was in that one too. Like, the Raiders fans included me in their schedule release video, Tony.
Oh, I did not see the fans had a version.
Yeah.
We just basically called each other like, the schedule's out, blah, blah, blah. The Raider one was okay, but it's more like, and the Raiders have dropped like two other ones afterwards, or two or three other ones afterwards, maybe because of the backlash. But like, it was just weird. Like, I think them and was it Tampa Bay? They did like pump up like week ones, and it's like, here's our video. Oh yeah, we forgot. Here's the schedule. Like right at the end, here's the schedule. Like, we want to know who you're playing every week. Devontae Adams dropped a better fucking video than the Raiders did. I don't know if you guys saw that one. Devontae Adams dropped a video where he's like, it's a promotional video for the hotels where he's getting paid for it, but he's like, hey, Cleveland Browns, we're dog friendly here in Vegas at our hotels and all this stuff. And he has a better release video because I think teams forget that it's not, and the Chargers do a great job at it. It's not a video to pump your fucking team up. We're not looking for that. We're looking for where you're playing at week. And here's the crazy thing. Like, my wife was like, she was asking me like, well, when do they get the schedule? Like, do they only get like a day to get? I go, yeah, maybe they get the dates that day, like Wednesday morning. Here's the dates, but they know all fucking offseason who they're playing, where they're playing these teams. So you can't tell me these PR departments or these social media departments aren't having these films ready. Like, you have 6 months basically to make a video for this day. And that's why I don't like the Miami one. I thought that was cheap as shit. Like, oh, here, it's good. I mean, you can love him and be like, oh, we're a fast team. Oh, cool. Maybe Tyreek Hill's fast too because he's about to have his 10th kid too. God damn.
All right.
Okay, that Devontae Adams one was pretty good, Joe, because he was almost like welcoming. Like, we welcome Browns fans here. We welcome the Chargers fans here. We want them to come stay at these hotels, but you know that Devontae's just going to cook everyone up come Sunday, he's not going to be so welcoming and nice.
Well, what did he say at the end? The only thing that we don't cover, the only thing in Vegas that's not covered is me.
Yeah.
That's a good line. It sounds like he had a good writers and a good production team, and that's really what you need. A lot of these teams have social media departments, and I think one of the things that makes the Chargers probably a little more superior in this is that they have more access to artists out here that have been trying to make it in different aspects of the entertainment industry, and then you put a lot of time into it, and then you get the right people there. I think that it would be interesting to see them do something different where it is like, I think they could probably get a great cinematographer and shoot like a really compelling, like season script, like sort of a trailer version. I think they could do one of those.
You don't want to get somebody dressed up and acting like Nick Bosa and talking the whole time?
That was stupid. That was so stupid. But I did like the Steelers one, Joe. Did you see that one where they had to try and make James Harrison laugh, but nothing worked? Nothing worked. James Harrison just looked like a frightening monster the whole time. They're like, and even Russ asked him, like, how'd you get this gig? And he's like, it's because I can do this. He just stares at him.
It's James Harrison reminds me of the kind of person that only smiles when he like hurts somebody or he's with his family. Like, I don't think that even if he hung out with like Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart, like the top comedians, that he would be like super jovial. Just doesn't strike me as a very serious, tough human being.
Charger fans make me laugh all the time.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to be great this year. We're the best team ever. Hey, that's the best stuff.
So let's get the show on track. 14 minutes into the show. Let's talk about like our favorite game, and anybody who is watching or watches this in the future, please put in the comments which game as a fan you're most excited to go see. We'll start with Joe. How about you?
Well, week one's always my favorite. Like, that always gets me going. So I don't care who's playing week one. If I'm going to a game on week one, that is my favorite. But I guess the Raiders-Steelers rivalry always gets me going just because it's my family. Half my family are Steeler fans, and I'm the only Raider fan. So that always gets going. And it's going to be in Vegas. Right now, I don't know if you guys know, but that is the hottest ticket in the NFL. For all the people out there, it's average ticket price. So average ticket price for that game right now is $600. It doesn't mean that you can't get tickets for cheaper. Sorry, I got to go off on some of the people in my comment sections because they're fucking retarded. It's average ticket price is $600. That means the average of all the tickets combined is $600. So that is the hottest game now. And I was in the building of that game last year, week 3 for the Raiders, and it was crazy. And the Steeler fans travel well. You guys already know that. Steeler fans travel better than probably any other team in the NFL. And when they got those yellow flags going, it's insane. I just want to see the Raiders be able to beat them down in front of all those fans and see them walk out sad. But that's always one of the games that I'm always looking forward to. And I was looking for the dates. It's October 13th, but Raiders Steelers is the game I'm really looking forward to.
They don't live rent free in my head. I just want to say that they just keep coming up. But Raiders fans will also like tell you, Joe, that's why other teams come in and invade the stadium is because the tickets are so expensive. But the Steelers fans have to pay for the flight and the ticket. The Raiders fans just have to drive a couple hours. Just saying. I don't want to hear no.
Raider fans are paying for 8 games. They're not paying for one game. I could pay for. I don't live in Vegas. I got to fly into Vegas or drive into Vegas every time. You're talking about one game. If you're only spending your money on one vacation day, then it's worth it to go to Vegas.
All of y'all are gonna drive into SoFi Stadium a similar distance and invade SoFi week 1 and brag about it all year, while the entire sea of Allegiant is red when the Chiefs come or the Broncos come and it's orange. Actually, since we're on the topic, before I say my favorite game, Tony, I am going to the Raiders-Cowboys preseason game just to prove a fucking point. And just walk around there and just show all the Cowboys fans here in one of the first games of the season invading Allegiant Stadium. So that way the next week I have plenty of ammo, and I'm gonna have an iPad showing all the Raiders fans.
That like, you're gonna
record a week ago.
Game?
A Cowboys Raiders preseason game.
At a preseason game.
Yes.
Wow, that's great content, Mike.
Invasion of Allegiant Stadium without even having to try by the Dallas Cowboys. So that way, the invasion at SoFi Stadium, they'll play it up on the big screen. I'm going to get into my connections at SoFi, play the Cowboys fans in Allegiant to counteract the Raiders fans in SoFi.
This just in, Cowboy fans invade Raider Nation in a preseason matchup.
This just in, the entire Raider Nation are a bunch of hypocrites. But anyways, Tony, my favorite game, probably because we're going to go to it. Well, I'm hoping that we can find a way to go to it together. And also, I'm just a big guy of just seeing all of like the great quarterbacks play. And I also kind of want to go to a Jets game this year, even though the Chargers aren't playing them. But I got to figure out the way to do that. But I want to see Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert in person. Don't know how often it's going to happen. They're coming to SoFi Stadium this year, so I definitely will be at that game. I'm excited to see that game. Forget what week it is. You remember what week it is, Tony? It's kind of like in the middle of the season, right?
It's in November. That's my game, too. I circled that one as soon as I found out who the opponents were going to be and knew that it was going to be at SoFi. Yes, I will be in attendance for that. And week one. Like, I'm one of those people where like I went to the Chargers Raiders game a couple of years ago, and I think that it's just one of those games I have to go back to every year, no matter what, to start to slowly chip away at this idea that Raiders fans overwhelm. Like if the fan base is really gonna build, like there has to be a commitment to making sure that we get out to that game every year when it's in SoFi. So I didn't make it out there last year for that one. I will be in attendance this year, week one. Powder blue. Like I might paint myself like a Smurf. Like as much powder blue as I can bring to the stadium. I want to do it.
Also, Harrison brings it up in the chat. I'm going to North Carolina. See the Panthers and the Chargers with David, so I'll be there for that one too. Also, Tony, I don't know if you noticed this, but me and Rose have been thinking and been talking about it. Because she's tired of having to pay so much money to just breathe air in the area of SoFi Stadium. We might go on some road trips because we were looking at the prices of tickets like just to open up, and I'm sure they could get even cheaper as the season goes on. You could go to a few games with your flight for the price of one game with the parking and the food and the everything at SoFi Stadium. So I'm eyeballing that. I think I'm going to go to that Panthers game because by then the tickets will be $20 to get in. And then Chargers at Broncos was like $60 for the cheap seats. May pay a little extra to sit a little bit up closer and personal. I want to go to Mile High too. That'd be pretty cool. And they're playing in October. I think October 13th or so. So it won't be freaking frozen like last year when they played there on New Year's. And then I was going to pitch this to you, Tony. Would the family be down for a road trip to Arizona for a Cardinals-Chargers game maybe?
So we talked about it. It really is going to depend on what school is like at that point, right? We're going to have our oldest will be in college, so hopefully situation will be figured out.
I saw some prices just under $100 in the hundred section. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, we thought about just making a trip out for when the Super Bowl was there, just to go and like hang out, and do all that fun stuff. It was also just like a chance to get out after being locked in our house for like 3 years.
Could help with the wheelchair, with the broken leg.
Okay.
Well, I was just surprised that Mike actually found a place to buy Panther tickets. Like, I thought they gave those away. Like.
Well, I won't be buying them until like the day before because I know that the closer the game gets, the more desperate they're going to get people in there.
Yeah, weren't tickets like $5 last year? Like for one of the games.
On game time, they had them for like $2 a ticket at a certain point. Like you could just walk right up and be in the action. It actually kind of looked like a COVID-filled stadium, even though it was,
But you do have not to get off topic, but you do have a point, Mike. If you live in California or even Las Vegas, maybe it is cheaper to go to one of these other stadiums. I do the same thing with baseball, like with the Dodgers. It's cheaper. I can fly to Denver, sit behind home plate, watch the Dodgers for 2-3 games, fly back, and my whole hotel tickets and food and everything was cheaper than buying home plate tickets behind Dodger stadium.
It's wild. It's wild.
So
and
like,
I have a little bit of an advantage too. Know a lot of people around the country. So it's like I know people in each city. So I could get out of the hotel fee. It's really just like, oh man, we're at a spot here where I can go to a football game for the same price as my freaking Wingstop order here in LA. I should probably go.
At this point, does anybody even sit in their seat? I mean, I don't sit in my seats at a stadium. Like if you just get in the stadium, you can walk around and do your thing, right?
Yeah, technically.
In the stadium.
I don't break the rules, citizen, so I tend to sit.
I don't break any rules because I take my citizenship in SoFi Stadium very seriously, and I don't want to get any kind of punishment from them.
Oh, because the Chargers really love you, Mike. They've been reaching out to you every day.
Yeah, what I need is a.
Oh, Mike. Bring all these other fake ass fans in. Bring a real fan in, Chargers.
I think I cuss too much, Joe.
Like Megan Thee Stallion.
I gotta censor myself. I guess, yeah, Megan Thee Stallion cusses a lot. What the hell?
You have
and she shakes her ass. Should I get up right now and do some twerking?
You should definitely not. Viewership can't go down much more than it is right now, but I'm sure that would send the rest of the people away that are watching it. Let's talk about our favorite holiday game. Thanksgiving, Christmas. I'm going to start this one. The game that I'm really looking forward to, Thanksgiving, Thursday night football. We get Dolphins, Packers in that spot where it's like, it's that time of year where teams are going to be jockeying for position. I think it's the Bears and the Lions both play that day too. And if they were to lose those games earlier in the day, then all of a sudden they have a real shot. This also reminds me of one of those games on Thanksgiving where we could get like just electric offenses, like have one of those games where it was Goff and Mahomes a couple of years ago, like on Thanksgiving night, watching Jordan Love and all of the talent that he has around him there in Green Bay. I know it's not as mainstream as what the Dolphins have, but I really like the Packers offense. I like LaFleur as a play caller. So that's the game. Like the food will be done. I'll just be having a piece of pie and sitting down and watching Thursday night football on Thanksgiving and enjoying that game.
The Packers are going to be hard to defend this year. I think that they're going to get a lift from Josh Jacobs and what he can do as far as like breaking tackles, a little bit more juice left in the tank than Aaron Jones had. And then now you come up to try and slow that down. Bombs away. Jordan Love is showing like he'll start carving you up.
Yeah. Get those tight ends healthy this year. Try and keep Watson, from hamstring injuries. I do think that the Packers could be fun. And the Dolphins are just absolutely
always.
Just electric. Even in the draft, they got 3 players in the draft this year where I was like, oh man, I really like.
Is that in Miami or is that in Green Bay? That might be their first cold weather game. What? Is there 2 a holdout? I didn't hear about that.
Well, he's missed like almost all the voluntary workouts, right? Because he's waiting for his contract. Is he going to hold out into the season?
No, Tua's gonna play, and I think that it's kind of amusing to watch this leverage battle go back and forth because the Dolphins don't really have an option at this point, and I don't necessarily know that Tua has a ton of options. Like a lot of times as fans, we think like, 4 or 5, 6 other teams would be interested in having that quarterback, and I don't necessarily know that that's the case.
I just better see all of these Tua over Herbert clowns that are always in my comments celebrating when they pay Tua as much as Herbert. I just want to see it. I better see it. Better see no complaining.
You have a favorite holiday game, Mike?
I do. Well, I have 2, but I'll give you my favorite one because I kind of want to go to it and see CJ Stroud versus Aaron Rodgers on Halloween. Bet you didn't expect me to shout out Halloween. Thursday night football, October 31st. The Jets are hosting the Texans in New York. That stadium's always cool on holidays like that, especially when the Jets fans get in there are rocking. You're going to see costumes up in the stands. I think the Texans fans will also travel to that game, especially because the Texans schedule, I'm sure we're going to talk about the best and worst schedules like we were saying earlier in the show. Their schedule kind of sets them up to be having a very good record this year going into some of these games. And I think that A-Rod versus CJ Stroud, once I think that we're going to see this. We're not going to see A-Rod versus CJ Stroud again, if A-Rod can make it to this point in the year, is an opportunity that I'm thinking about going out there. We have some family in New York and seeing it because I saw the lowest ticket price, cheap seats right now, because it's Thursday Night Football, $45. Just pisses me off because there's no way I would ever, like, the parking is 3 times that price at SoFi.
Yeah, you can find cheaper tickets at SoFi, like on game day. But again, the stadium is just so huge and you're so far away. Joe, favorite holiday game before we start talking about some of the more...
It's the newest holiday. Well, it's always been there, but Black Friday, what the hell are you guys talking about? None of you guys are going to bring this up. The Raiders and the Chiefs, 10 in the morning for us, right after Thanksgiving. You wake up, get that damn leftovers out, and you watch the Raiders beat down the Chiefs on another holiday. And there's a reason it's called Black Holiday, because the silver and black will be out there. And they should just give the Raiders every Black Friday. They should just give it to them every year from now on.
I mean,
what do you want me to say? You want me to get excited about the Giants and Cowboys again on Thanksgiving? Everybody's tired of that damn matchup. Why does the NFL keep trying to push that shit down our throats? Nobody gives a damn about the Giants and the Cowboys, especially with their ugly ass uniforms that they came out with yesterday. But God damn, like I'm tired of it. Like, and then Mike is like the old fashioned NFL player. Aaron Rodgers. We're done with Aaron Rodgers. He had his chance last year. He blew out his Achilles, and the story's over. Nobody wants him to finish the story like Cody Rhodes. He's fucking done. We just want him out of the NFL.
You're the only one that hates. I mean, maybe Tony too. 2 out of 3 people on the screen, so I guess this kind of goes against me. But everyone wants to see the legends play, Tony, into their old age like this. Like, I want to see Justin Herbert at 39 years old still doing it, still balling. I don't want to see him blowing his Achilles out like Aaron Rodgers did. How come I can't root for a legendary player of the game to have a good finish to his career? It's the same as Brady. Everyone started hating Brady when he moved to Tampa Bay, and I became the biggest Brady fan ever in that point. Because I just wanted to see a good ending to the, like you said, to the story, Joe. Why are you rooting against it? Why are you rooting for sour grapes? Why are you rooting for sending this guy into podcasting before he wants to go?
When you have a bunch of young players in here that you could be pushing, and you're pushing Aaron Rodgers still.
CJ Stroud. It's Thursday Night Football. It's not even like it's like the main slot or anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the same thing I was pissed off about week 1. They put Jets and 49ers when they could have put the rematch of Detroit Lions versus the 49ers on Monday night, week 1. It's the Aaron Rodgers story that nobody wants to listen to.
See, I disagree, because I think that you can get a ton of eyeballs because Aaron Rodgers is so controversial, right? And I think that when you get a polarizing player like that and you have a chance to put him back in the same situation that happened 365 days before, you're going to do that. I think it's actually kind of not great for the Jets to be starting in that position. There's not a time that I get more excited for, and I'm glad that they put a game on Friday too. Like, just keep giving us football.
Joe, I got to ask, what did you think of The Undertaker's return at WrestleMania?
Oh, I thought it was stupid.
Oh, did you? You looked like you liked it a lot in the live reaction video.
We're talking about wrestling, Mike.
That's what we're trying to turn the NFL into. It's already pre-planned and everything. We're trying to turn it into.
My favorite player is on week 1? Leonard Floyd.
Oh my gosh, bro. There's another one, Tony, that we didn't talk about that I wanted to bring up that I was deciding between. But they're giving us a Christmas gift, and I know I'm kind of riding the CJ Stroud bandwagon. What Joe wants me to do against another young, phenomenal quarterback, the defending, reigning MVP, Joe, Lamar Jackson. Can you get excited for Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud on Christmas, at least?
I think both the Christmas games are money. Like, I think they did us a real favor.
What is it? Steelers and Chiefs is the other one?
Yep. Sorry, kids. Dad's got one eye on the TV and one eye on you guys rapping.
As long as it's not Russell Wilson starting for the Steelers, it could be a good one.
He just went on this long rant about how he hates all the old QBs. He wants to see the young guys. I say Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, doesn't even crack a smile. Not even a grin.
But he's never been a fan of Lamar. I think CJ is like the guy that he wishes that the Raiders would have got last year, but he's never been a fan of Lamar Jackson.
Nope.
All right.
I won't buy him some flowers.
Copyright coming in hot. Let's talk about the toughest schedules to either open up the season or end the season. And Bodo is giving a shot to his Steelers.
Bodo's 100% correct.
Yeah, I'll start with Mike, because I know that you had brought up the Steelers. Is that what you want to talk about, or do you have another team in mind?
I mean, yeah, I have a few backups here, but the Steelers were the main one. It's not even just the last few weeks, guys. The Steelers are getting shitted on all year with this schedule. It's like Mike Tomlin told the league, like, I'm never going to lose this winning season streak. And then Roger Goodell and the schedule maker said, hold my beer. Look at this. Look at this. I'm pulling it up right now so I could read some of this off. I have all the schedules saved in a file here somewhere. But yeah, the Steelers schedule is absolutely brutal. They obviously they're opening up the year in Kirk Cousins' first game with the Falcons, and they got the Chargers week 3, which is going to be interesting. Their D-line versus our new revamped O-line. Then you get into the middle of the season, and they have a stretch of games where it's Indy, Dallas, Vegas, and Vegas. I know you guys don't like the Jets, but I like the Jets. Go to the second half of the year. This is their last, 1, 2, 3, 4. Their last 8 weeks. Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland. That's the AFC North right there. If you lose those games, it's over. The Steelers are out. And then if they somehow survive that, they somehow make it through that and are still in the wild card picture or battling for the division, Philadelphia on the road, Baltimore, Kansas City, and then Cincinnati. And it's brutal. If the Steelers aren't undefeated by midseason, they're pretty defeated. And with Russell Wilson and possibly a Justin Fields situation here, it could get ugly, and I feel really bad for Fields. Because what if Russell Wilson fails, or God forbid something happens because he's Russell Wilson, he's been dealing with injuries his whole entire career. Now Justin Fields is getting thrown in there for that gauntlet to try and save his career. Ugh. I'd rather Fields just sit out. Let's bring Kenny Pickett back and feed him to these Wolves so you can get a high draft pick next year.
Here's the thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't give a damn what their schedule is. I know. I looked at their schedule, brutal schedule. We all know that's a horrible schedule for them. But when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and you look at the last losing season by teams in the NFL, right? The Dolphins 2019, the Buffalo Bills 2018. This means more losses than wins in the season, right? Everybody else, their last losing season was 2000 till all the way to 2023. You know when the Steelers' last losing season was? 2003. 2003. 20 years ago. 20 years ago. And we're going to talk about, maybe the Steelers can't get past this brutal-ass schedule. I don't care how tough the schedule is. Steelers are going to find a way to be competitive, especially with Mike Tomlin over there. The NFL can throw whatever they want at them, but Mike Tomlin's going to come out at the end going, still here, still standing. What's up?
I tend to agree with that, especially because I think Cincinnati still has some offensive line concerns, and then you get in sort of T. Higgins territory, what's going on there. And then for the Cleveland side, we just don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. We don't know if he is going to sort of shake off the rust and be closer to the Deshaun Watson that they thought they were giving up all the money and all the draft picks to get. So I think that those games are tough because they're division games. But again, you're talking about a team that I think is going to have a really strong defense. And then this team is going to run the football better like we saw at the end of last season. So I tend to think the Steelers are still going to be a 10-11 win team. It's not a game I'm looking forward to, the Chargers traveling out there. So I do get what you're saying. I saw it too, Mike, and I was like, that is a brutal stretch of, you couldn't break it up with one game that's non-division, non-playoff team. It is a rough stretch.
Yeah. Their light weeks are go to Indy and play that playoff team from last year who now have freaking Cam Newton from 10 years ago in the pocket.
I think I have one that is to start the season that's more brutal than that even, but I'm going to let Joe go first to call out a schedule.
Well, okay, so here's my little notes at first. I had the Steelers with the horrible schedule. Chargers travel the most of any team this year, going 25,000 miles. The Raiders schedule that I like because I'm biased to the Raiders. The Raiders schedule actually works out for them in terms of weather. They have to go to the East Coast 4 times: Cincinnati, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, and Miami. All of that before December, so that works out great for the Raiders in weather-wise. But here are 2 teams that I thought they have a couple stretches. They're the first 8 weeks, and this is for a team that not a lot of people are expecting a lot out of, is the Arizona Cardinals. For a team that wants to try to compete this year, their first 8 weeks are horrible. At Buffalo, the Rams, Detroit, Washington, San Francisco, Green Bay, Chargers, Miami. For a team that wants to get out of that basement, those first 8 weeks, maybe 1 or 2 weeks or 2 wins in there. That's very tough for an Arizona team, especially with when I'm looking at their defense, going, who's that? Who's playing defense for them? And then the other team is Mike's team, the New York Jets. Their last 8 games, if the New York Jets are fighting for a playoff spot going into the last 8 games, they have Indianapolis. They have a bye week: Seattle, Miami, Jacksonville, Rams, Buffalo, Miami. So if they're looking for that last 8 games to certify them a playoff spot, it's going to be very tough for the New York Jets, especially with what's their backup quarterback name is?
Tim Boyle. Wait, I'd argue that.
I thought they signed Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, is it? That might actually work out. I'd argue you'd rather play Miami late in the year like that. And then again, you'd rather play the Jets probably too late in the year, but
yeah, I think that that is going to be an interesting season for the Jets, and I have my concerns. We'll get to more of that. The team I want to point out is a team that I think we have had high expectations for over the past couple of years. Definitely, we all predicted them to win the division. That's the Jacksonville Jaguars. This coming into this season, I think is a real teetering point for Doug Peterson to sort of figure things out. I've had some questions about the moves. I know I'm not a GM, and so I don't have the credentials to question Trent Baalke. But if you look at the way that they messed with the Jaguars, so their first 3 of their first 4 games are on the road. They go to Miami, then come home against Cleveland, go to Buffalo, to Houston, and then come home for the game against the Colts. Then after that, go to London for 2 weeks. They're going to be at home for 2 of the first 7 weeks of the season. And I know that London is their home away from home type of a situation, but it's still not the best situation. Even though I do think they went 2-0 in those games last year, it's just a brutal way to start the season with all teams. Even the game against Indy, you say well, Anthony Richardson's unproven, but it's a division game that you have there at your place against a team that I think is pretty good, pretty physical, added Latu to that defensive line that I thought was pretty good last year, gets even better. So I look at this thing for the Jaguars. It's they could be headed into week 8, week 9. And it's what's the deal? It's 3-4 are the Jaguars. Is Doug Peterson on the hot seat middle of the year? Did they give Trevor Lawrence the contract? Is that starting to look like something people are debating or regretting, even though all of that conversation is always nonsense and ridiculous to me? I think that could be sort of the conversation for the Jags in a tough spot to really sort of surge forward, take that leap we thought they were going to take last year.
It's pretty wild. They somehow got the Jags going to London, but the Chargers still are traveling more. Jaguars. How is that even possible? And Bodo put it in the chat here. He's asking about 5 games outside the states being too many. And what about the poor people that work at concession stands? Do they get paid when the home game is taken away? First of all, I would like to see more international games, honestly. I want to see them go the other direction. If the Chargers got a game in Japan, I might consider coughing that up and going just to experience that. That would be pretty sick. I think they should go and try out some other countries like Australia, who just hosted a WWE event recently that went absolutely insane. And there's other countries that love sports and they just love the spectacle of the NFL being in town. And then the whole thing about poor people losing their pay. I mean, that's a part-time job. You shouldn't just be relying on concession work on the 8 home games each year.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to get into people's economical stances on this, but I will say that I'm not as big of a fan as the exporting of NFL games, because it does seem sort of greedy by the NFL to do these, to have teams in such a physical sport having to sacrifice and be far away. Like the Jaguars to be away for 2 weeks to me seems not great, even though you get the argument where it's like, oh, well, the second week they clearly have the advantage. It's like, we don't know that. That's only 1 week, or like one sort of sample size that we've seen of them staying over there for 2 weeks in a row, I believe. So what
if I pitched adding one more bye week to the season to make this possible, to where you get a bye week after you travel overseas like that?
Yeah, I'm in favor of a second bye week, even with a 17 game. If they go to 18, there absolutely needs to be a second bye week, because it just starts to feel unfair what we're asking these players to put themselves through. Uh-huh. And then, like, I know a lot of people say just stay off the internet, but just to go to the internet after one of these games, and you have people that can barely tie their shoes telling you that you suck. It's like, what's wrong with you people?
That's me, by the way. I can barely tie his shoes, Tony.
It's everybody. Like I was listening to a great interview with Zaire Franklin, who I think is very entertaining and has a real nice future post football. He was talking about, he remembers when, before he was in the NFL, and he's like, I was saying the same thing to a lot of the players, like, and people that I felt like, organizations that I felt were ruining my team, decisions they made. He's like, so I get it when they say that kind of stuff. He's like, just leave our families out of it. And I think like that's a pretty fair request, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is entertainment. We critique everything else that's entertainment. Like Quentin Tarantino can make a movie and then people are like, I didn't like Act 2. It really sort of lulled and fell asleep. This is not one of his better movies. It's like, oh, I'd like to see you try and do a better job than that. But that's the fun. That's what we're doing here. So are we ready to go to the next topic?
In the movies that I film, I couldn't even make it to Act 2.
Tony, what if the family members are pouring ice cold water and freezing temperatures on people? Then can you go at them? Is there a pass there?
Yeah. I mean, technically, really, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I'm just saying, like, for me personally, like, I like to try and keep this mostly positive, especially for like the public platform of what it is. Like privately, we talk shit about people, and there's no way none of us could do the job. None of us, but we talk like we could, for sure. Yeah, that was another thing. I was actually going to bring a clip of it, but Chase Daniels and I think Dan Orlovsky did something similar where they put out what a rookie playbook looks like, and like one day of install, whatever it is. It's like, if any regular human thinks that they could handle that job, they are insane. They like, I can't even talk to them. I cannot talk to them if they think that they could handle that. And that's just the play call. It's not even like having to get there and deal with the stuff. It's like just knowing the play and getting your teammates lined up and then assessing the situation. Like, get out of here. You couldn't do it.
Different language. It's like learning another language.
Hey, you guys hear that bullshit about the NFL schedule makers looking at Taylor Swift's schedule to set up the Chiefs schedule? Have you guys seen that?
I have not seen it, but I wouldn't put it past the NFL. The international games, the holiday games, the money grab with Netflix this year, they are all about broadening the reach of the amount of people that they can see. And if Taylor Swift is bringing as much attention and eyeballs as they were getting, then yes, they are definitely going to try and look at that and figure it out. Like, it's smart business.
Yeah, so I guess there's 14 games that she can attend this year, and that they did. And then there's a couple that she won't be able to, but 14 games that Taylor Swift can attend. if you're a Chiefs fan looking forward to that or whatever. I don't know.
That's like half the Chiefs fans now.
But like that's the thing is like the bigger the game, the bigger they can make the game and the more money they can get, you would hope that would spill over into the players, right? Like making sure that they're all being compensated well, because I think that a lot of times we think, oh, these guys make millions of dollars, but then it's like you go look at a lot of the players on the roster and a lot of the guys that are on your favorite team and you look at their salaries, they're not really being paid like crazy, especially if you're a player like Alohi Gilman just signed a nice contract. He also lives in Los Angeles. Like that contract isn't as, I mean, it's 50%. Better than the average human being, but you think about taxes, the cost of living out here, like it's not as crazy as you think it is.
Eric Armstead dropped a video like that before. I got to look it up again, where he actually showed his paycheck for the 49ers. And he goes, this is how much, my gross was. And then here's the state taxes, blah, blah, blah. This is what I'm actually taking home. And he goes, like, you look at players, and you got to remember, like, playing in the NFL, like, not to get into this topic, but playing in any sport, they have to pay taxes per state that they play in. So, yeah, they're playing in California. If you're the Rams, you're playing in California for 8 games. But now you're playing 8 games out of California, so you're paying taxes in Florida, wherever you're playing at.
The guys in California playing out of the state is a come up, but the guys playing out of the state that have to come to California,
that was the best thing out of the move for the Raiders. That's what the Raiders got out of the move when they moved from Oakland to Las Vegas. Is the tax breaks is that the players got, and they actually set contracts up when they were leaving Oakland. They actually set contracts up like, hey, wait until 2 years from now, you're actually going to be making more. So, yeah, teams that's always come when it comes to contract negotiations. That's why some teams pay a little bit more on the West Coast because of the tax.
So I did an acting gig in Florida, and I think California still managed to take more taxes from me somehow than what I paid in Florida. Like there's the federal was definitely like more, but it was the few days of fittings or whatever that I had here was more than what I had paid to Florida. I don't remember exactly how it worked out, but it was surprising, like seeing it and being like, wait, why didn't I pay Florida more money? Interesting.
And then one more other thing. So we also got into this before we move on to summer. So I read this. It says to see every game in 2024 regular season, NFL regular season, you're going to need NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, Sunday Ticket, NFL Network, ESPN, ESPN Plus, Amazon Prime, Peacock, and now Netflix, right? So you need all those services if you wanted to watch every single NFL game. Or one jailbroke Fire Stick is all you need. One jailbroke Fire Stick, and then you're good.
We're not condoning piracy. We're not condoning breaking the law. Sure, but if you were willing to break the law, one jailbroken Fire Stick.
One jailbroken.
We'll do it.
Unless Dana White finds you before the NFL does.
Dana White, yeah. Dana White's not just like finding people; he's sending UFC fighters to people's houses.
Wasn't that like his thing like a couple of months ago? Like, I'm finding everybody who uses Fire Stick and watches my fights illegally.
He would grab the camera, like get up close to it personal, and be like, "If you steal the event, I will find you, and I will take you out," like some Liam Neeson shit.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want.
I'm not in this like shit. When you're spending so much money right now, and the NFL's throwing more, and that's not it. There's another platform coming out from Disney, ESPN, coming out in August. Another sports where they're all mixing together. I forget what it's called, like Evo Sports or something like that. There's another app coming out, so. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. I thought cable was done with, but it looks like we're just paying all kinds of different other ways.
But Joe, you already have Netflix by then. I know you're getting Netflix to watch Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched that press conference. That's a whole nother thing too. Holy crap!
It was so great. You can see Mike like holding himself back so much.
I do think legally though, you get the localized games, right? Like they have to allow you to be able to see them, I believe it is. So like if you live in the LA area, you're still going to get because don't the Chargers have an ESPN Plus game this year against the Cardinals, I believe it is. So if you live in the LA area, we still get to see the game without ESPN Plus.
I think that's Monday Night Football. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think it is, but it's a doubleheader game, I believe.
Oh,
so it's like
one of the Christmas games. I think one of the Christmas games is on Netflix.
Both of them are on Netflix.
Oh,
yeah.
Both. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's getting ridiculous. The NFL needs to make their money, but it's crazy.
They really don't, Joe.
They already made their money. Yeah.
It's probably a $50 billion organization. Like, I mean, I don't know how much more they need to be squeezing fans. It's like, to me, it would almost be better if they just said, hey, you could see these games, buy an NFL Plus subscription and see them there. But the thing is like, they don't make as much money as they would as if Netflix comes to them and says, hey, we want exclusive rights to a couple of games this year, and we're going to cut you a check for $150 million. And it's like, all right, here you go. We're going to give you two of the best games, because I think last year ESPN Plus had one of the games, but it was like a London game. People weren't awake. Like, you can't really drive up subscriptions for games where people are sleeping, or half the country might be in, football fans might be in church or something like that. It's like, you're not going to be able to rake people over the coals.
Yeah.
Can we get some more Disney Toy Story games? I'll take that.
It would help a lot if they just didn't double dip, like you're saying, Tony. Like, we have to pay for cable or YouTube TV, which is basically cable, basically the same thing, and Netflix and all these other things, and Amazon. And all these other things. They just pick one. And let's put it all in. Let's push the chips in on one, and everyone will subscribe to that one.
What other league does this? What other league has multiple?
That's the thing, is when you have the power, Joe, you can do it. I mean, they have had so many sort of like tradition. We're not going to have games on Friday night. If you don't think that Friday night games are coming in 15 years. The NFL season is basically going to be like every night for like 6 months. Like, that is just the way that it's had 18 games. They're going to figure out algorithms with, multiple bye weeks, and they are going to have football on for 6 months straight, essentially. Like, that is just the direction this is heading.
I just had a wet dream about that last night, Tony. Are you in my head?
Mike, I think that you think you want that, but when you and Rose start having children, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm glad the Chargers are not playing on a holiday, because I'll have the games on in the background, but it's really selfish to be like, oh, hey kids, hurry up and let's enjoy Christmas, because dad needs to go be a fanatical crazy person and watch the Chargers play on Christmas Day. Like, that's just not great.
I'm going to tell you right now, my kids are lucky that the Raiders beat the Chiefs on Christmas last year. Or they would have gotten
Joe had his kids at the Raiders kickoff working. He had them working the Raiders kickoff. He wasn't even paying them. He was just like, you guys get to eat tonight. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. You get to go home tonight and sleep in the bed. No, actually, my kids had a great time at the Raiders summer kickoff. Like, they love it. Like, it's weird, because I was talking to my wife. I was like, when we were kids, we had to go to, like, my dad would force me to do yard sales or go do stuff, or her dad would make her go sell stuff at the swap meet. And then we take my kids, like, for one Raider event, and they're like, Dad, can I sell these tickets for you? You're like, no. Like, well, okay, I guess you can, but, like, they think it's a fun thing. Like, no, it's supposed to be punishment.
That's good that you're turning your kids into businessmen already, businessmen and women at such a young age.
Yeah, that's just a sign that you have good kids. Like, they're like, hey, want to help. We want to work the Raiders grift with you.
Yeah, Jake was happy because people knew Jake from Mike's videos, and so they were asking him to yell Raiders for him and stuff like that. But
all right, let's go real quick. Also, if you're in the chat, this is not to be mean. This is to talk about the absurdity of the overreaction that people have from the rookie minicamp videos. Joe, you can lead us off on this topic.
My overreaction is the craziest damn thing that I've seen, and it's the Patriot fans. Crazy, already dismissing Drake May, like saying he's the worst guy out there. We knew we shouldn't have drafted him, and that Joe Milton is going to be the starting quarterback by the end of the year because he has so much talent. Is that his name, Joe Milton? I don't know.
Yeah, Joe Milton. You're right.
Yeah, look at his arm. He has the greatest arm. He's going to beat out this guy. Come on. Really? You took Dre May at number, 3 overall? His name is Drake May. I don't even know his name because I don't even care about the Patriots because they're going to suck this year. Like, if you want, does it matter who the quarterback is for the Patriots this year? No. But you're going to tell me that Joe Milton is starting? Then there's something even wrong, really wrong with that franchise, and everybody should be fired. If Milton is your starting quarterback at the end of the year, you take Elliott Wolf, you take Gerard Mayo, and you take that whole damn building and you trash it, and you bring in all new people after that.
Joe, you didn't hear that's a new strategy? Draft the quarterback super high and then just slowly work his back up into the lineup. Holy crap. I think Dre Make's at my door right now.
Or you could be the Atlanta Falcons and just bring every damn quarterback into your building after giving $100 million away.
I think that if they don't start Jacoby Brissett, it could be a real issue for them. Like just keeping the team feeling positive and moving in that direction. Like I think Jacoby Brissett is a quality, he's a startable quarterback in the NFL. Like they can win some games with Jacoby Brissett. If they start trying to force Drake May, or in this case, Joe Milton onto the field, it could get really bad, really dark for the Patriots. But I just think it's funny that from a couple of rookie minicamp videos that any fan would have that opinion formed already. That's insane to me.
Well, I mean, Jacoby Brissett is a top 36 quarterback according to Chris Sims, right? Better than both Raider quarterbacks. So
I didn't even know Jacoby Brissett was on the Patriots. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's returned home to the place where he was drafted.
I need to pay attention. Brissett, Tyrod Taylor, I'm not even paying attention to this crap.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett, I think, was told that he would get a chance to compete for the job, even though he knew they were drafting somebody that he was going to mentor. And again, I think we've seen Jacoby play pretty good for the Browns in the past, played pretty well for the Commanders in the past. So I think he can do the same thing for the Patriots. One of the interesting things I heard about the Patriots was I was listening to an interview with Drew Bledsoe, and he talked about Alex Van Pelt being a really smart offensive mind. And he thinks that he is going to go back to establishing the run, heavy play action, similar to what they're doing in Cleveland. And he thinks that's really going to be able to help them be able to stay in and be competitive in games and have a functioning offense for the first time in 2 seasons, essentially. So I thought that was a very interesting take with somebody who has insight like Drew Bledsoe, who played with Alex Van Pelt. That was his backup. We didn't react to this on the internet. I don't think the internet really needs much more reaction, but do you guys want to talk about the Falcons drafting Michael Penix Jr.?
Yeah, it's stupid. It was stupid. It was a dumb move by their GM. It's only capped off by a week later. They put a waiver wire in for another backup quarterback. It makes no sense what they're doing. You either believe in Kirk Cousins and his injury, or you don't. We've talked about. I think we've talked about it before. You don't draft one of the oldest quarterbacks in the draft to back up a quarterback and go, okay, when he's 29 years old, we're ready for Michael Penix. We're good. I think it was a dumb move, and we've all seen the video where he's telling the GM or the owner trying to just it was
explain.
You had a lot more other.
When Kirk's done, and this guy didn't come in. It seems like they set it up for one of the two things to go wrong. Either the draft pick ages poorly because Kirk goes out there and does his thing and is the quarterback for the next 3 years, and maybe they're begging him to stay into his later 30s even, or the draft pick works out because Michael Penix gets in the lineup next year or this year even. But it's because Kirk Cousins either fell off a cliff or got injured again. So you're setting up for one of those two things to fail. I don't know if you guys saw the clips of Michael Penix at camp throwing his first passes as a Falcon. Kirk Cousins was there too. And Michael Penix is got the tight jersey, looking all jacked up, throwing dimes. And Kirk's wearing the baggy jersey with the old school, geeky looking helmet. It looks like Kirk is the backup already. in these videos. Michael Penix getting hyped up on the Falcons social media. I was waiting in that schedule release video that the Falcons put out. They did like an NFL street. It was actually pretty cool. I was waiting for Penix to make an appearance. No Michael Penix in the Falcons schedule release video.
Well, good, because they need to keep the ship together, because I think, like, financially, I think the move is irresponsible. But I do think in practice, it is good to have the future of your team on your team. I just don't know that I would have made this decision that they made, especially when I thought that they still have Taylor Heineke, right? Like he's a plenty good enough backup. And I do think that Heineke's one of those guys that they'll be able to, towards the end of preseason, move to a team that needs a professional backup quarterback. And Heineke will be, playing for Green Bay or something like that. I'm not sure who Green Bay's backup quarterback is, but I could see him being moved to a team that needs it if they deem that Michael Penix has enough command to be the backup on game days. The interview with Kirk Cousins on Bussin' with the Boys that came out yesterday or the day before, I listened to it right away because I've always been very intrigued by Kirk Cousins. As somebody who's a fan of Michigan sports, I watched him at Michigan State. I didn't think he could have the type of career that he's had in the NFL, and he proved me and many other people wrong. So it's like, I think that Kirk Cousins is going to be fine. He's going to be the starter. Mike's over here talking about him losing a swag contest with Michael Penix. No shit, he did. Like, it's not, that shouldn't even be factored into any of the evaluations whatsoever. So I think the Falcons are a good team that I will probably predict to win the NFC South this year. And Kirk Cousins.
When they asked Kirk Cousins, they said, would you have signed with the Falcons if you knew they were going to draft a quarterback? And then, like, his face was like, he stopped for a second. He's like, I don't talk about hypothetical questions. But you could tell, like, yeah, no, I would have gone somewhere else. I would have fucking gone somewhere else.
But you could have just said no. You could have just said no. I don't really care what the draft pick was going to be. I came here for Kyle Pitts and Drake London and list the players. Bijan Robinson.
So it's interesting that you brought that up, Joe, because in the interview on Bussin' with the Boys, he talks about how it's very important for him to live in reality. And the reality is they made the draft pick. So, like, I do think that privately people are willing to discuss hypotheticals, but for him to publicly discuss a hypothetical and then start a controversy with the fan base that he has not endeared himself to yet, like, all of the fans were so happy they got him. And then when they drafted Michael Penix, I would assume that the internet of Atlanta Falcons fans are probably saying, like, what are we doing? Let's see this kid. Like, it's more exciting for him to be our quarterback than it is for Kirk Cousins. I think they should be focused on the exciting thing would be winning football games and getting the ball to Kyle Pitts. I don't care who the quarterback is.
The generational talent, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, it always works out, Joe, when you draft tight ends super high with one of your first picks.
If you're looking at fantasy football, go no further than Atlanta Falcon tight end, Kyle Pitts.
TJ Hawkinson was already really good in Detroit, but Kirk gave him a fantasy football boost for sure. So maybe he could save him. I'm seeing him getting tanked. I'll take a flyer on Kyle Pitts still, like late in my draft, where I could just throw that pick away if I need to.
I don't want the nice guy, Kirk Cousins. I want Kirk Cousins to act like Aaron Rodgers, like, who the fuck is this guy? Get him the hell out of here. Like, walk in there and be like, no, don't put Penix's locker next to me. Don't let him practice next to me. He shouldn't even be on the same damn field as me. I'm Kirko Chains right here.
It's an interesting setup. It's definitely an interesting setup that they have in Atlanta.
Bodo got us going on Atlanta for some damn.
I know. Well, because
we were talking about rookie minicamp stuff.
But your team is doing the same thing with your rookie over there, Tony, with Ladd McConkey. Oh, he's the best guy out there. He's juking all these people. Look at him in these shorts and t-shirts.
I love the Cooper Kupp comparisons that just immediately come out, and it's just like, why are you going straight to Cooper Kupp, huh? Wonder what it is.
Yeah, it's all of it to me is it's all very, very humorous because the same thing happened with Quentin Johnson last year with Chargers fans, and they just set themselves up for massive, massive disappointment. When it's like, clearly this is something that is, there is not a exact blueprint on success in the NFL. It takes all sorts of players, different times to find roads of success. That's why the player I want to talk about, because I saw a couple videos, and I think you guys were the first ones to send it to me, was the Xavier Worthy dropping passes at Chiefs camp.
Hell yeah.
People going, oh no, we got another guy with the dropsies. It's like, it's the first practice. Like, he's going to be
Let
just
this one
fine.
happen. Let this one happen, Tony. Just let this one happen.
I mean, I would be fine with it. I think he's a fantastic young man, but if he's not good, that's great for me as a Chargers fan. Like, if he takes time to figure things out. I just thought that it was funny when I saw like Chiefs fans in the chat being like, oh, here we go again, Sky Moore 2.0. And I'm like, they don't even do the same things. Like,
if Worthy went to any other team, I'd be rooting for that guy. Like, I hope he pans down and becomes one of the best wide receivers in the league. Since he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, I hope he drops every single pass. I hope he's Kadarius Toney 2.0.
Mahomes does a back flip, throws it to a wide open Worthy, dropped.
Yeah.
Dropped.
And I think the one thing that I saw was actually like, it was a footwork drill where at the end they catch a pass, which is sort of a timing thing or whatever. And I was like, this isn't even an actual route that this guy would run. Like, what are people freaking out about this thing for? And it's because the social media team, to me, and I think this is one of the things I love about the Chargers, but it also gasses up the fan base, is do not release videos of young people on the job messing up, right? Like, imagine if a surgeon was like, the one time out of 100 surgeries, it was like, yeah, he accidentally nipped an artery and there was a close call with this one in here or whatever. You'd be like, no, can't. Huh?
That was a reporter, Tony. That was not the social media team. That was some dumbass like me who somehow got a media credential. Like, if I was there and I recorded that, I'm posting it like immediately. I don't even need to see the rest of practice. I'm going straight to my car.
Miami, 2 years ago, Miami learned their lesson where they were like, look at Tua throwing it deep to Tyreek Hill, and it was like 20 yards short that Tyreek Hill had to come back for it.
Yeah.
Like,
gotta pump up these players. Like, the Chargers social media team has a video of Joe Alt blocking somebody he would never block, and they're like, look at Joe Alt manhandle this middle schooler or whatever. It's like that. The fans see that
shit. That guy was like 5'1", like 120 pounds, and big old Joe Alt 6'7" is manhandling. I'm like, they're like, look at, he's gonna dominate NFL, and I'm like, is Mike on the practice squad or what the hell is going on?
That was me. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. It was.
Like, they were like, hey, Mike, we need you to come film a video, and it's just him getting his ass kicked by Joe Alt.
I would do that. I would do that.
From Costa Mesa High School, and he was just holding him there like, cartoonish. It was.
Yeah, I forgot about that. When I saw that, and I was like, what the hell was that?
Fumble.
One more rookie I want to shout out just because he looks like a freaking monster. We were talking about swag with Michael Penix. Did you guys see the clips of Xavier Leggett looking like they got Sean Oakman out there running routes? This guy is fucking huge. Like, DK Metcalf is big, right? But this guy just looks extra big.
It's funny that you say that because he's like 20 pounds lighter and 4 inches shorter than DK Metcalf. But there's sometimes people just look like they're created as avatars in a video game. I used to talk about this with Kenneth Murray all the time. Kenneth Murray looked like he was created in a lab. It's always like, once you get out there, how do you play? Who's in a dependent position like wide receiver? It's like, I have a lot of really high hopes for what I think Dave Canales can do and what the offense can be better at this point. So I'm excited for Xavier Leggett. I think he can also maybe help out with Jonathan Mingo's elevation. And if Adam Thielen's still on the roster, I kind of like what the Panthers. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a 4-win team, but like more compelling than they were last year.
More competitive.
I just want to get the guy from Joe Dirt or the Waterboys assistant coach to interview Xavier Leggett. That's it.
Yeah.
And like I say, almost naked. Yeah.
I went down there that deer field there, and I caught that damn ball with my right hand.
That
home is where you make it.
Yeah, that is I've watched that movie with my wife a few times, and every time she's like, "Why is this guy in here?" And I'm like, "Because they're doing an exaggerated accent from the South, and it's funny." Like she does not get. She's like, "I just can't understand what he's saying." I'm like, "It doesn't matter what he's saying. Like that's what makes it. That's the comedy of it. Is that nobody has any idea what he's saying."
I think, I think that's one draft story that is overlooked a little bit. Is the Carolina Panthers told Leggett, like, if you're there at 33, we're going to get you. And they ended up trading up to 32 and getting them. It's like, like you hear that a lot. Like you hear players talk about like, oh, I talked to the Chargers, I talked to the Raiders, I talked to the Broncos. I didn't really talk to this team and they drafted me. But when a team is actually telling you like, hey, we really like you and they actually come through with it, I like those kind of stories.
One thing. Before we move on, I just got to ask, please, Raiders, Broncos, Chiefs, and Bears fans, stop sending me Chicago clips. It's too soon. I don't want to see all that. I can't see
Caleb Williams.
I can't look at it. Nope, I don't want to see any Caleb Williams and who he's throwing to. None of it.
Is there a guy that he throws to? Like they got
one. We'll rip that Band-Aid off later. That first time I saw that video, I literally started tearing up. I can't take it. It's too soon.
I don't even know who the Chicago wide receivers are. They got a good one over there?
Now we can go to the next topic. Skip. Now we go to the next topic.
You introduced this to the show, by the way. It was not on there. We were talking about rookies, free agents that are out there right now that I think have put together Hall of Fame resumes, and they are unsigned at this point. We got Jason Peters at tackle, Calais Campbell on the D-line, Patrick Peterson, corner, and Julio Jones, a wide receiver. Like, all of these guys are past the prime abilities. But I do think that they could, for the right team, add something. Maybe even in Patrick Peterson's case, switching to safety, right? Like trying him out there and seeing how that goes. Is there one of these players that you see on this list that you think to yourself, like, I'd like to see that player on this team and finish with a chance of being on a competitor? Who would they be? Which one do you want to go first?
Well, I'm just saying Julio Jones doesn't need to be on any team. When they were calling him number 80 on the Eagles last year, number 80 for the Eagles made the catch. Like you dropped from fame right there.
Well, my pick was about to be, what if we send Julio back to Atlanta? Finish the career out there. He can be like not as much of a feature in the offense. Just be an extra guy that helps with these young guys. Drake London's obviously going to be the number one there, but Julio and Darnell Mooney could combine together to fill out the rest of the receiving core in the passing game. I think that'd be a good spot for him. He's got the block, like I said, most of the time. Bijan Robinson is going to be the engine. So I think the good fit would be to send him back to Atlanta. Also, Joe, other than Julio, y'all could use all these players. I'm just saying.
I do like that. For me, Julio, it would have been to go to Buffalo, like, and figure it out there. Like he can be in a room where he can help at that point, but then he also has the ability to play for something. I know a lot of people are down on Buffalo. I'm not one of those people. I still think the Bills are going to be really good. Joe, which one?
Which one? What?
Is there any that you want to shout out?
I mean, I always like Calais Campbell just because of his size. I mean, 6'9", and put him on the defensive line. But where I'm trying to think of like where a good fit for him would be, I have no idea. Like in my mind, like at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh, maybe he can come to the Raiders and we can put him on our defensive line. But there's so much that he doesn't have anymore. I don't know. Patrick Peterson, it's probably time for you to move more to safety position than the actually cornerback position. And I think last year I read somewhere where he was like reluctant to do that. Like he really didn't want to move the safety position. But I think in the right, he should talk to some of these guys that have made that move. And because I think out of everybody that you listed, the 4 guys that you listed, I think he has the most that he could teach these young players. And it's hard to play secondary in the NFL, especially now with the new rules and stuff like that. So if you can get somebody like that on your team that is willing to teach the young guys and move to position, and you saw it with some of these great cornerbacks late in their career, Rod Woodson, Charles Woodson, and where they moved back to safety and they actually made him a better player and helped their young guys out too.
Yep, that's why I want to see Patrick Peterson as a late addition add to the Chargers. That's going to be tried at safety. Excellent choice.
People forget Patrick Peterson was a freaking monster in his prime. How about one more, Tony? Stephon Gilmore to the Chargers. That's perfect right there. Let's get him in here. He can be a little extra sauce in the secondary, Joe. Wouldn't you be pumped if the Chargers signed Stephon Gilmore?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, we saw how great that other Patriot acquisition worked out for you guys a couple years ago.
So far removed from Gilmore on the Patriots. That's not a Patriots acquisition. That's like y'all saying that Khalil Mack was a Raiders acquisition.
A lot of people are like, oh, Gilmore did great for the Cowboys last year. He did, but there was also many times where you're like, ugh, he's showing your age a little bit too. So, here's the next free agency stage is June 1st. So we're almost there. We're May 17th right now. Remember, a lot of teams get a lot more money come June 1st from the contract that they kick back. I know like the Raiders will pick up another $24 million. There's other teams where they designated when they release somebody to June 1st. So maybe that second wave, and we'll see like the Gilmores and stuff sign like that. But, I mean, if you want a defensive back, you should be getting like Steven Nilsson or something like that.
Justin Simmons is still out there. Just waiting to be signed.
There's actually quite a few safeties that I'm intrigued by. Quandre Diggs is still available. I'm going to go with Jason Peters to the Bengals just because I would love to see Orlando Brown, Trent Brown, Amarius Mims, and Jason Peters are all like 6'7", 6'8", 345-pound human beings. Like, I just want to see the four of those guys in a photo together because they're all just like massive human beings. Like, to me, that's interesting. Plus, I do think that the Bengals, have a little bit more protection. We need to keep Joe Burrow healthy. Like, I just want to see the career play out naturally. I don't want to have a situation where it's like every year Joe Burrow's getting hurt. That's just not fun and entertaining. Like, I'm going to buy tickets to that game, and if I end up watching Jake Browning versus Justin Herbert, I'm still going to enjoy it, but I'm not going to enjoy it as much as if I get to watch the going back and forth in that game. Like, one of the best things I watched last year, even though Lamar Jackson didn't have a great game, was watching Lamar Jackson and Herbert compete in the Chargers-Ravens Sunday Night Football game.
I don't know, Tony. Last time the Chargers played the Bengals and Joe Burrow faced off against Justin Herbert, he got blown out.
He did.
Remember that great play Michael Davis made up the sideline on Jamar Chase? That
lucky interception that he made against...
That's one of my favorite interceptions ever right there. A little gift from Jamar Chase.
It was like a movie where, like, angels in the outfield type stuff. It was crazy.
He had a touchdown, honestly, on that play. But yeah, if they did that, Tony, the O-line should just stop trying to block for Joe Burrow and like they just line up in a modified formation where they just kind of huddle around him. Two of the guys put him on their shoulders. Two of the guys just blow people over in front, and they just kind of just carry Joe Burrow forward. Or maybe can they put Joe Burrow on their shoulders and then he can throw a pass from up there?
It's like a platform throw from 7.5 feet in the air. The only way they can sack him is like a Jenga tower or something.
Might as well try that strategy out because just dropping back in pass pro is not working.
Yeah, I just like him to be healthy. Again, all four of these guys, I believe, have a legit shot at going to the Hall of Fame. That's going to wrap up the show. We'll be back next Friday again, 11:15. We're going to try and be like clockwork with it. So if you enjoyed hanging out with us and having fun, consider subscribing to the channel. We know there's so much competition out there. Whatever you enjoy, we hope that you have a great, fun, safe weekend. Put some positivity onto the internet for your favorite team or players or whatever it is. Is there anything else you guys would like to say before I hit this end stream button?
Do I look like Daniel Jones when I do this?
Yeah, you do.
Do you
Cowboys,
look like
Raiders? Daniel Jones, you see that picture?
I didn't see it. We haven't talked about the Giants, but I think that is a real messy situation.
They got him in the new ugly uniforms. And he's just staring at the camera, looking like an absolute.
I don't get those uniforms. We need to talk about next week. Will be a topic on the show. New uniform.
Just all uniform talk. Just all uniform talk.
We'll do some heavy uniform.
We can talk about that. We could talk about the NCAA football game that's coming out and the ridiculous prices they just threw on there.
We're too old.
You want to pay? You want to play players for name, image, and likeness? Well, EA Sports just got us on that game.
When the young whippersnapper on this show is saying we're too old for video games, Joe, we're too old for video games.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Speak for yourself, Michael.
Anyways, my final sign off is Cowboys fans. I'll see y'all preseason week 2, Las Vegas. Let's march into that stadium. Let's show them who's boss.
If I knew you didn't need that for tax purposes, I'd tell you what a waste of money that was. Joe, you good?
I'm always good, but yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us today. Again, have a great weekend.
Bill Flames, I'm with Mike on the mic. With something brand new, one time for your mind. He gave you fair warning. Now it's time to smack him in the mouth with that raw sports talk from the town. Sweet chin music to your favorite sportscaster.